Asian people, original people. They go west, they go east, they go north, they go south. Places we go, we bring divine wine right from the source. Water to wine, BB Nation, birth from my new warrior crew, it birth from my new big body girls, it birth from my new boom boom drum, it beat from my new. We Asian people, original people. They go west, they go east, they go north, they go south. Where are my people? Right here. My beautiful people. Right here. Ancient of days. Right here. Faces engraved. Right here. Birth from the spirit. Right here. Just here for a minute. Right here. Rule from a cloud. Right here. Sing it out loud. Oh. Broken, scattered, but we still not forgotten. Yes, we scatter, no matter. Right from the source, we scatter, no matter. We Asian people, original people. They go west, they go east, they go north, they go south. Right here. If you don't know where you're from, right here. Talk to your elder. Right here. And if you don't know where to go, right here. Talk to your elder. Right here. We build the kingdom. Right here. 1,000,000 families strong. Right here. Living the culture. Right here. Of giants from the stars. Once again with the abrupt ending to things. Greetings all. Greetings. Welcome. I am Chief Yuya. I'm just pulling up the chat here. And I'm Chief Yuya. You know, you are listening or you are participating willfully in the Anu study session that we're bringing. And of course, Anu is a community of doers, thinkers, knowers, aspirants, you know, people who are aspiring for greater meaning and significance in their journey. And we come together and we learn together, we play together, we work together, we have fun together, and we have experiences together that maybe explore even the unpleasantries that we find ourselves having to deal with at times. And I'm Chief Yuya. This is all for you first-time listeners and for those who you would be coming in and listening to this much later. So I'm Chief Jegna, and Chief just means the uppermost, and Jegna means someone who's a counselor and someone who's a guide. And by being the Chief Jegna, it only means that there are many other guides and counselors. And in this space and in this environment, I just happen to be the most senior one, but not the only one, you know, or not the only one who should be striving towards that. So, and thank you for the one, Sister Yafe, I see, so I can be heard. So as always, I always sort of begin the experience asking, at least as far as study experience, asking if you have any, like, what have you been working on this past 6 days? You know, during our 6-day cycle, which for many is from Sunday to Friday, or from first day to sixth day, we work. and we work on things and experiences that bring out the qualities of the outer man, or the aspirations that the inner man is seeking to fulfill in the outer man. And then on that seventh day, we look inward. So it's sort of like, on your first 6 days, you're looking at life through a telescope. And when you look at life through a telescope, you realize that there is so much for you to do because you're so insignificant. And then on that seventh day, or that Shabbat, we look at life through a microscope. And when we look at life through a microscope, um, or we could even maybe reverse that. But when we look at life through a microscope, we realize our significance. So the looking at the small and the minute is really a recognition of how significant we truly are and how much effect that we can have on things. And then looking at things from a distance, or with that telescopic view or that telescopic lens, lets us know how insignificant, we truly are in all things. So we get an opportunity during our Sabbath or during our rest day to explore our insignificance, to understand and value our humility. So I always start off by asking people what specifically they've been exploring and going through, and want to share and use to build on. And, just saying like, oh, well, I've been looking at colors. That's not really necessarily building, but what is it that you have learned and you have discovered that we can utilize to continue the journey forward? So I'm gonna just be glancing at the chat periodically. Um, uh, so Aki Zach says, "In peace, Abba Harut. Thank you for the number one as well." Says, "I've been thinking about community and coming together. Also, what prevents folks from coming together and actually doing the work of self to actually come together with others. Well, what is it? What's the answer? Also, the word faith, and one can serve a community for the Most High, or one, I guess he's saying one cannot serve a community of the Most High. Break it down. Give me more than that. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. Um, as far as faith, as far as community and coming together, and you know, um, what do we have to build on? And by the way, there's also a chat for anyone who's listening. There's a link that will be pinned to the chat eventually, and that link allows you to come into this experience as well. So for some of us, we're a bit more verbal than we are literal, so it's just easy for us just to explain it, or we just want our voice heard in the space. We want to add on to the vibration. That's the significance of the great mysteries of esoterics in the world, is that it's all the great mysteries and the great secrets are all delivered through symbol. That's why sometimes when people say you tripping because you're reading into things too much, they don't realize that everything is done via symbol, because great architects of intellect, great architects of the mind, great architects of education and external and inner transformation always understood that language was always a great limitation to deliver the sacred mysteries of the world. Language has never been enough to actually share those mysteries. So outside of the language, what always had to be provided was symbol. And the symbol holds way more information than the language could always hold. And this is one of the reasons that spirits only speak in symbol. One of the reasons. That's why spirits have a sort of universal way. When we say, oh, my ancestors are communicating with you or with me, we assume that your ancestors spoke English. What about your ancestors who may have been brilliant but were nonverbal, right? So then they get no place in the line and the stream of ancestral intelligence? No, of course not. They have their own space because they can still communicate via symbol. All right. Uh, okay. Live button tripping. Yeah. Sometimes they do that. But being able to sort of add on is proof and pudding of the willingness or the ability to build. I'm always paying close attention to um, those who identify as male, and their un- unwillingness to build with other males. When there's always sort of this passive, and I'm not trying to get on anybody, but I'm just making an observation as we've been going through these studies around family and the divine family and the roles of each person. I'm sure that there have been some personal chords sort of struck and strummed, no different than when I did the Jezebel series. So many reached out to me and were like, yeah, you're describing my mother, you're describing me, you're describing my friends, you're describing my family. So, in the same instance, when you speak about the role of the man, of course, when the sun comes up again, I'll be speaking about the role of the woman. Last strong, I spoke about the role of the man. Now I'll be speaking about the role of the woman, and then after that will be the role of the child. But and I spoke about the role of the elder before, when I broke down Titus right after I did the Proverbs teaching. But I always pay close attention to um, sort of the willingness of other men to roll their sleeves in and jump in and say, "Boom! Here's a brick to add to the building, or here's a gem to add to the treasury," and their unwillingness to, or well, I'm just listening. I don't know what to say. You done said everything. And that sort of very passive, um, more receptive, sort of dark negation of masculine energy, you know. Um, so it's always something to pay attention to when you talk about the role of the man, the role of the woman. It's very easy to listen to one man, could be me, could be somebody else, copy what is said, and then jump out tomorrow and say, well, knowledge is this and wisdom is that. And, the spirits, they speak in symbol. Of course, you didn't know that? That really is the Luciferian, or more so the satanic mind, because the satanic mind is the shadow mind of the Luciferian mind, which is an afterthought of the divine mind, right? Not to say that Luciferian mind is any less divine, but whatever you have is always an afterthought reflection, because you had to listen to God say it first. You had to listen to Chief say it first. Then you come after with yours. That is Satan, because now you are just a shadow of the light, as opposed to saying, okay, my torch is also lit. Or when I experience light, I experience knowledge, I experience that sun and it's coming through, I have my own light to add on to the fire. That's an important quality for women to pay attention to. You know, um, and I think sometimes that could be a hard pill to swallow too. Like, does your man come with original light, or is it always they're trying to sound like someone else or copy someone else? When that's happening, you're having a conversation with Satan, or laying down with Satan. You know. Okay, I saw some more in the chat. House of Yuya says, in the house, we've been studying the history of Habel and Cain, but also tying things back to the story of Adoma and Hawa, and tying it to the concept of Isha and Ish. Okay. They were instructed. I gave them instructions to study that. No bricks yet. It's Akizak says it's easier for folks to sit in the background and not be called out when put shoulder to shoulder, which will allow a person to be seen. True. Still no bricks. El Karar says, peace, Chief. Peace, Anu. Peace, everybody. No bricks. Akizak says, I don't think one can say that they're in a community unless they link and rub shoulders with people. They can get caught up on building, but not actually build Solomon's temple. Okay, we got the mixture. We got some sand there. It's not a full brick, but we got some mixture. We got the formation of a brick. It still has to lay out in the sun and harden, but okay, we got the formation of a brick. We got the formation of a brick. When we speak about Solomon's temple, of course, which was a reference. So you have people who can build, and you have people who are building Solomon's temple. As Zach has put in the chat. Yeah, man, because there's the inner divine self, and then there's always this, for some, there's always a battle, between the will of the external self and the faculties and the talents and the energy of the inner self. And oftentimes we think that the inner self is given to us so that it can fulfill the will of the outer self. So like, we have a lot of talks around abundance. We have a lot of talks around prosperity. We have a lot of talks about living an unbounded life, living a life of manifestation, so forth. All of these different things that the inner self did not come to the planet for. Because why would the inner self come to the planet to say, okay, I'm coming to the planet to live abundantly? That would make no sense, because the inner self comes from the place of abundance. So it doesn't need any of that. So when we start to ascribe those sort of qualities, that's where all of our lack of longevity comes in life. That's why we die early. That's the reason. We violate the hierarchy of who's telling who's instructing who's fulfilling whose vision, right? So we come in and we say, okay, I have this great spirit, or when I come into a room, people listen to me, or I can heal people when I touch them. And as a result, I'm going to use that to make some money. And I'm going to use that to secure a certain sort of life for myself. So now there's this challenge, and you're slowly numbing the talents and the gifts of the inner self. And what happens is that shortens your life, that shortens your days. You see, that conflict and that struggle. And some would say, well, why would God give it to me if it wasn't for me to experience a life of abundance or experience a life of joy, right? Because we're not looking at, there's different forms. See, this is the reason why so many of us are bored with education, why education is so boring. Because some of us, you put us in a classroom, we start falling asleep. Like all of a sudden we're yawning. We got to put our head down on the desk. We're struggling to stay awake. We were fine a second ago. Now we're struggling to stay awake, because we are now slowly seeking to numb the inner purpose. And oftentimes that's what training and schooling does. It numbs the greater purpose. You see, so we come into a situation, and the inner self is moving and grooving, and it's thriving, and it's pushing us towards something that will fulfill what we came to the planet for, right? And then now we live in, I can say, certain social structures that seek to harness that for a certain purpose. They'll take all of that strength and turn it into this. It's like, taking an ox and saying, I'm going to use that ox to, go around a mill, and that mill is going to be connected to a giant fan of papyrus. So the ox is going to go in circles just so it can wave a fan. So on a hot day, it can cool me off. So this gigantic ox is like, you think this ox came to the planet just to so you could have a fan blowing on you? You see, so we take all of this great potential, and what will happen is the ox will die on that wheel earlier than it should. And we'll say, well, how could the ox have died? Like, it was such an easy job. Because there was a conflict between the inner purpose and the inner value and the inner spirit and the outer ambitions. So what happens is that where we should be getting um, freed from the top down, from our higher self, should be freeing our lower self through daily activity and daily alignment. When we say that the truth shall make you free, or we walk by truth. Walking, whenever is specified in ancient texts, walking means living by. So living by truth. You see, the truth shall make you free. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word proceeding out of the mouth of Yah. Every word proceeding out of the mouth of Yah is Torah, is teaching. So we live by Torah or instruction, then we will live. Right. So now, or we will live more abundantly, rather, will we live more correctly, more uprightly. So when we take that out, and we build, okay, I don't want to build the temple, Solomon's temple. Solomon is peace. I don't want to build the temple of peace, which restores me in my identity. I want to build something external. I want a nice, pretty house. I saw Drake's house. I want a house like that. I want a tiptoe on marble. You know, I want a sunken living room with a pool inside the living room. I want to be able to just run from my front door and just dive and jump into the pool. So I'm going to use these great gifts that I have inside of me to produce that. And then I'm going to die at like 55 as a result. And no one knows why I died so young. So South Harvard says, I've been going deeper into some of the many other commandments aside from the 10, such as not the mixture of fabrics, right? Well, no brick there because you don't have a gym for us. House of Yuya. Also, there's been side studies of how atoms are formed. As I was reviewing, I considered the idea of man, woman, and child, the electron being the feminine energy because of the negative charge. Need a little bit more than that. That's some sand. That's an ingredient, but ain't no brick yet. So I'm gonna show y'all when y'all build it. I'm gonna give you the build alarm and the lack of build alarm. Zach says, Philippo. Zach quoting scripture. Philippians 2:3-4. Let nothing be done through strife or vain glory, but in lowliness of mind. Let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. All right, well, break it apart. We got the scripture, break it apart. House of Yuya says negative charge being receptive, protons being a positive charge, being the masculine energy, the man. I learned that there is, okay, the other house of Yuya, and add the neutron being the neutral charge, being the child. Okay, still don't have a bill yet. The other house of Yuya says, I learned that there is a whole science to interpreting the Bible called, I'm sorry, hermetics. I learned that the analogy of faith, which says that scripture must interpret scripture. Okay, that was profound for me. All right, still not a brick, but we got ingredients to a brick. El Karar, by feeding our ego and monetizing our gift for ourselves, we turn away from purpose and don't build a healthy impact in the world, or we don't reach to get to stars, but to reach just what was on earth. Okay, that's building on what I just said. Not a full brick. That's a mini brick. Matter of fact, that's mortar. That ain't even a brick. That's mortar. Because that's what I said. But he put some mortar around it to solidify it. Okay. So after Harvard, when I read scripture that says, if you love me, keep my commandments, but I only really know the first 10, and yet there's over 600. No brick yet. See? Building requires, because if you say something out loud, see, this is when we get beyond the individual statement and we get to a statement for the collective, right? So a statement, and I'm going through this. Those of you who are not new, y'all should be used to, see, that's the thing. Like I said, a lot of times many movements are built on affirmation. And no matter what a person says, a quote unquote teacher, this is where you get these YouTube influencers. It's like, that's true. That's right. They want to affirm everybody because they don't want their numbers to go down and they want those super chats to come in. But if you're truly a teacher, that means you're probably going to do more correcting than you are affirming. And now they know, and then they'll come back with something that is built upon that affirmation. So how do you build? Right? That's what we're dealing with. And when you're speaking about collective things, when you're building, it's a brick that everyone can build on. If I say, I've been studying the science of sound. Okay. And I've been studying the science of sound and how sound could affect our sleep and affect our vibration. And how does that help anybody? Right? So you look at these different sort of ideas and this different sort of terminology, and you start to realize, like, okay, am I building for the collective? Am I building the temple? Or am I just throwing out energy, throwing out words, but not really actually building on anything, um, you start to realize that, see, there's a sometimes we get caught in those cycles, and when we don't have real instructors, and there is a philosophic death, and there is a philosophic rebirth. And the philosophic rebirth is the great mystery, or the great arrival of all aspirates and initiates. Sometimes we have a philosophic death, and people use philosophic death oftentimes to control people. So anything you'll say, they'd be like, nah, that ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. But they won't actually lead you to rebirth. And that's a tool of mind control. It's, you just negate all of the philosophy that a person has in life, right? But you don't actually give them something to now step into the new life. So you always keep them in this place of limbo, where you find out a lot in quote unquote indigenous systems, but they're not really indigenous systems. When they want to get money from you, that's what they do. They'll constantly be telling you, you need to get initiated, because once you get initiated, I can open up more things. Like, more you can't know until you're initiated. I can't tell you these things. And then you'll find when you're initiated, nothing is said to you, nothing is taught to you, nothing of significance. You might learn a couple of songs and stuff, but nothing really significant that really mirrors this process I was just told I had to go through. Right. So I'm constantly keeping you in a philosophic death, where I'm killing off old ideas and things like that, but I'm not infusing newer, more livelier, more wiser sort of experiences and perceptions to now fuel a greater and better philosophy within you. You know, go back to the chat. Where's my chat? Oh, okay. Got too many things open. Okay. Zach says, wouldn't mortar be what keeps the bricks together? So love would be the things that keeps all the bricks together. I just got a question there. I don't know. Sovereignty says the book of Daniel the prophet from the Apocrypha has been a beautiful story about Susanna and her faith in Yah. Okay. You see? Rod 9 says, in order to build, you first have to have the foundation. Correct. What is the foundation? The cornerstone that Hiram Abiff laid, right? Who was Hiram Abiff, and what did he lay? Right? I taught on Hiram Abiff. I forget what I named it. It's an old segment. It's on YouTube somewhere. I broke down that whole story of Hiram Abiff, and when he was attacked, by those who wanted the master key, and Hiram Abiff was raised perpendicular to the square when he resurrected, and so Mason stuff. I found that from my life experience that if I don't lay a strong foundation, it doesn't last. Okay, there we go. We got a decent brick in there. We got the makings of a brick. Okay, you know, um, it's always important to understand that when we're exploring something, or when we're surrounded by people who are aspiring, wisdom is never provided until it's asked for. That's how the universe works. A question sends a person on a quest. A quest is the actual doing of a thing. So wisdom comes to those who quest for it. But when we are speaking to people who are on their quest, we have to leave clear signs to elucidate different paths. You can go this way, you can go that way. This is what this path looked like for me. That's what that path looked like for me. But the problem is, like, the two greatest enemies of integration of wisdom in I would say people's lives, are a person's mind and a person's emotions. Those are the two greatest integrators, enemies to integration of wisdom, where it now functions through you fully, because sometimes our emotions, are fueled by our intellectual ego, and we refuse to allow ourselves to have that philosophic depth. We're still talking about our signs. We're still talking about how we were raised, what we were taught, how we feel about what we heard. We have all of those different things, and it keeps us from actually integrating at the level that we should. You know, um, sometimes it's hard for us to imagine that we're clenched. We're clenched like a clenched fist, and we're not a part of the evolutionary process of everything around us because of that intellectual and mental blockage. The universe is created through a series of evolving waves. That's how the universe creates. So when we say let there be, we're releasing something. And that releasing now goes out in waves. You see, everything happens within that evolving set of waves. And when we seek to dam that up or to block that, we now are not a part of the evolving process of creation. You see, so what becomes something tomorrow is not our tomorrow. And think about how much you have to catch up when all the waves are passing you by because you've tethered yourself to an idea intellectually. You've tied a chain around your leg to a certain stance and said, I'm not moving from this stance. Okay. But now the evolution of life and wisdom is going out, 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 out. Nothing you're doing is going out, right? But now what eventually happens, because you've tethered yourself to a point, all things begin to shift around you. And those waves that once could have carried you to a place of evolution are now dragging you under and drowning you. You see? And that's when it becomes really difficult to integrate at that point. That's when people say, this is too hard. I'm scared. This is hard. Why is it so hard? It shouldn't be so hard. And you say, well, just let go. I don't know how. You know how to let go? You know how to let go of stuff. We let go of stuff all day. You can let go. When you have a bowel movement, you let go. You don't clench and try to hold it in because you know it would make you sick. It changes your whole mood, your whole outlook. Having impacted feces within your intestines actually changes your mood and disposition. You see, so you let it go, so you can go to the next thing. You know how to let go. You know how. You don't want to because of the lack of integration and the fear of integration. You know. So yeah. Knowledge is good. One of the things that people don't get a lot of times because their pursuits of wisdom or knowledge is so selfish is that knowledge is something that you should always have, whether you agree or disagree with what's being shared through knowledge. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I hear some noise in the back. Am I joined with someone, or is the back just making noise?
No,
um,
that was me.
all right, here we go. Oh, we got people on. All right. But I'm gonna say this and then y'all can, spit that hot fire. So knowledge, man, is something that you should always have. That's how you grow, whether you agree with what that knowledge is expressing, whether you disagree with what that knowledge is expressing, whether you feel like it suits within your current pursuits, doesn't matter. Knowledge is always good, whether it's right or wrong. And that's one of the great mistakes that many people withhold themselves from. I don't know and I don't want to know. I don't need to know that. You should know everything. You should pursue all things because it's coming into the awareness of your experience for you to know. All right, I'm gonna let you brothers, you know, spit that hot fire.
All right, so I'm gonna flow first, and then y'all brothers can go. Adding to, I'm gonna bring my brick of just looking at a brick as a person and people coming together, and like you said, it's that anchoring point is almost, in the way I'm looking at it, is somebody's history of saying that I know that this person is going to do this, or I know people are like this. So instead of letting the wave, or instead of letting a new experience, and I'm just because this is already fresh on my mind, like the retreat of going and actually meeting with people, it's easier for me, some people, just to go to church and sit in the back. It's easier for people to just sit there and just watch and just, you know what, oh yeah, that's a lot of great information that you're doing. But for me to actually get there and actually start to rub shoulders with other people, to actually put myself on the line of saying that, you know what, these might be some character flaws that I have. These might be some things that I need to work on. These might be some things that I'm falling short with, and that other people are going to start to in a true community, bring balance. I think that was the thing. He's like ma'at, like, oh, I practice ma'at, but what does the word mean? The word actually means balance, and to bring balance, then so everything.
Authentic.
Say it again.
Ma'at, the word ma'at means authenticity. Balance is one of the principles associated.
Oh
One
yeah,
of the
it was
seven virtues.
backwards. I'm saying it
Yeah.
backwards.
No, you got it. You on it though.
Right. But it's just one of them things of now can one come into a community and then have somebody say, hey, these are some things that you need to work on, as opposed to the first thing that they say, I tried this, and it's all right. I tried to do the new thing, and it's just not for me. I'm looking for something that actually resonates, and looking for my community. But really, that community, the one that is actually going to be authentic and is going to be ma'at, is going to bring balance. And what is going to bring balance is everything is not going to be, oh, you should just be positive. Why can't you encourage me? Why can't you just, like you were saying earlier, always just give you some positive feedback of just having people just feel good about themselves, as opposed to, no, these are some things of where you're at, and this is how you're going to start to really build Solomon's temple and actually bring your brick so it can be stacked with other bricks. But then as soon as it touches another brick and somebody's like, oh, no, I don't want to be next to this person, or this person is saying something that I'm offended by, or I'm triggered now because this is my history and this is what I used to, that you don't know how I've been brought up. Well, are you going to actually start to look at those things? And those things sometimes are going to, it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be a nice, rosy process of like when people get initiated and fly to another country. And that's a whole another thing. You're doing all of these things, but then like you said before, which I have seen, wait till that money runs out. Meaning you be like, oh, this is my family. This is my community. Well, when your money runs out, let's see if they're still your family. Let's see if they're still your community. And if they still have the same regard that they did when you was paying for everything. Oh, yeah, auntie this and so this. And then next thing you know, the money, all right, well, you know what? You on your own after that, or is it reciprocated when if somebody comes over here and you showing them like this is how we treat each other in a community, and then you go over there, or is that being reciprocated, or is it no, you still gonna pay for everything to make sure that you feel a part of a community, but it feels good because now you know some chants or you threw some flowers in the water. Yeah, so I'm gonna end it like that. Pick it back up.
I'll pick it up. Peace, everybody. Is the background noise too loud, or is
Nah, we got you. We get
okay.
it clearly.
So one thing that I've been trying to build on was like the idea of pride. I was at one of the sessions that I go to during the week, and there was like they usually do like a scripture in the beginning, and I can't completely remember the scripture, but it was somewhere around the lines of thou shalt be faithful and be humble.
You
Right?
just cut up.
And my
You said
first
thou
initial
shalt not
thought was, why can't
something. You cut up. You said thou shalt not
be
something. And
should not be, they shouldn't be pride. They should be proudful, but they should be humble
okay.
underneath God, right? And my initial thought was, why can't you be proud and humble underneath God, right? And then I watched your video on pride, and you were saying like that was one of like the three most biggest sins, something like that, right? And it kind of makes me go back to what Akizak was just saying. Is like we a lot of times we want to be proud in what we're doing, and then skip over the part of being humble and saying like, I'm underneath God's grace right now, right? And I feel like sometimes it's like when you're asking like, okay, do we have any bricks to build with? It's like we're so proud to be in the space sometimes that we don't even have a brick to lay in because we're too worried about being proud, and that's how we kind of fall to the wayside. And that's kind of what I was looking at. I maybe have a question. I don't know if we're doing questions today, but the question that I had was like, okay, so I'm supposed to be humble underneath the Most High. I can't be like, am I allowed to be happy that I'm underneath the Most High? Am I allowed to like just feel invigorated? Because one of the ideas that I had was, in a new way, it says that a man will only receive his highest level of glory in his own household, right? So how come, what, how is he supposed to feel towards his house? Like, because before I would have said, like, I'm proud to have a good house, I'm proud to have a good family, right? But because based off of what I found, we're not supposed to be prideful, right? So kind of made me lead towards, okay, so then how do we view that? Like, is it just something that we just say, okay, I'm humble enough to have that, or
Well, how
like
did you
that
get
kind of
that
stuff?
good house? How did you get that good family? How did you get that good house?
Well, I would assume, not assume, but it would be through hard work, right? Because if you're planning on getting a good house, you have to put in the work to become a good man, right? You're not just born a good man and then you just stumble upon these things. It would have to be through your endeavors of trying to be better. Oh shoot.
Well, no.
But yeah.
The scriptures say that the rain falls on the just as well as the unjust. You should mute out because of your dog. The rain falls on the just as well as the unjust. So you can put all the work in to do a particular thing. See, this is what Job's issue was. He was proud because he's like, well, I'm doing the offerings, I'm putting in the work. So therefore I'm going to have this because I put the work in. See, that's when you're working with the external man's reference and not realizing that it doesn't matter what you put your hand to, you still have to go through the work. But if the Most High doesn't put, if you don't have that yod on you or that hand of the Most High on you, it's not going to prosper. It's not going to stand for anything. So if I have a great family or there's something else, great house or a great house, I'm humbled that the Most High allowed me to have those things, regardless of work that I put in or didn't put in, because I don't deserve anything because I work for something. You can harvest, you can sow seed all day, and then something could come along and tornado, natural disaster, flood, and destroy all the harvest. So it's not what we do. See, that's where pride comes in, because pride comes in when we start to say that the Creator has nothing else to give me because I can do this on my own. I got this. You see, that's your pride. Humility says, I do all things through Yahweh Shai who strengthens me. You see, so my strength and my vigor and my inspiration to be inspired, to be in spirit, I'm coming from the spirit of the Creator. And that's what's making things flourish and grow in my life. You see, because how is it that I can have things so quickly? Like, if you think about the formula for a good family, a good house, we all already blew it. We don't have a formula. You can move forward now as a young man and find yourself a good woman or good women, and you can create a household, create a family, and have beautiful children going forward. You didn't deserve that. Where did we come from? What about the sins of our fathers? Are we truly, honestly living out every sin of our father? Because if we was, we couldn't even hope to aspire to have a family. Just think about where you came from. Think about what you were not taught as a youth. Think about what you did not grow up in. Did you grow up inside of the law, statutes, and commandments? Did you grow up listening or speaking your actual language, eating your actual food, wearing the clothes of your nation and your people? So now at 19, 20, 25, 30 years old, you could say, I have been kept pure this entire time, and now as a result, I should have this. See, the pride comes in here. The story I share sometimes about the employer. He had people working. Yo, if you work from sun up to sundown, I'll pay you this. Then other workers came in the middle of the day, and he paid those workers the same amount. And the ones who were there from sunrise was like, yo, that's not fair. Who are you to say who should get what? None of y'all deserve anything. So instead of the humility, we celebrate. Wow, you came, you only worked a couple of hours, and you still getting full pay. See, that's us. We only worked a couple of hours. We ain't been here since the beginning. We ain't been on this since day one. Some of us are coming into our right mind at 25, 30 years old. And like, okay, now going forward, I want to have a beautiful family. I want to have it. You might get those things. But what about the cat whose mother and father was in this? And they grew up in this and always was doing the right thing. Never had a piece of pork touch their lips. Never had a shrimp or a crab touch their lips. Never, violated the laws of cleanliness. Never violated the Sabbath, not once in their life. And they say, I want a good family and a good house. You would say, well, they should probably get it. But compare that person with yourself and you probably be like, I probably should get nothing. But humility, when you do start to receive those things, instead of being prideful, like, yeah, that's, because I put the work in, you say, oh man, I'm so humbled. Because that's not something I should have had. So I'm humbled by that gift that was given to me of grace. Where the Most High said, I forgot. But yo, Most High, remember when I robbed that kid? Or my friends told me to go punch that other kid or steal something from just to bully him. And I knew I shouldn't have did it, but I did it anyway. And the Most High is like, bro, I don't even remember, man. I forgot. Honestly, I forgot because it was put in the sea of forgetfulness. I don't remember that joint. But I remember it, yeah, because you're prideful. Because all you think about is your deeds, whether they were good or bad. I forgot that joint. See, that's grace, and that's something to be humbled under. You think about, you go out there and you get with a woman and she shows some level of disloyalty. You will remember it forever. Whether you stay with her or not, you will never forget. You see, I was 11 years old dating my little girlfriend. I remember we broke up, and the next day there was this dude, Andre, who lived in the neighborhood, and she had written on her arm, I love Andre. This was the next day. We at the basketball court, and I saw her right on. She's sitting with little girlfriends. I love Andre. You disloyal. You know what I mean? Now, how do I remember that so many years later? This woman married, she got children, you know what I mean? It's little kid stuff. But I remember that joint. The Most High wouldn't remember it. So the Most High's got to write it in a book, because Most High's like, I don't remember that joint. The Elohim wrote it in the book, but I don't remember personally. That's humility. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be, so then that would lead me, so that's the trick bag. So like, even when we say like I'm like excited in this situation, or I'm happy in this situation, or I'm just like pumping with emotions in this situation, we forget to look at, okay, let me sit back and see, like, who put me in the situation. And that kind of leads me to the idea of when you said one of the past family videos that you did, when you said who brought that man or that woman to you? Like, was it the Most High, or was it someone else, right? And when you realize, like, this was the Most High who put this in here for me, let me humble myself, and let me let me sit and look at the situation from the perspective of, I'm lucky to be here, and not that, what's it called, I'm not gonna repeat your words, so I'm gonna just stop there.
It's not luck. Luck ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm being looked out for. But I'm noticing you're also making an assimilation or a linkage between humility and unhappiness. You see, that's something to pay attention to. Because I say I'm happy about something doesn't mean that I have to be prideful about it. I rejoice in what the Most High rejoices in. And I'm displeased by what the Most High is displeased with. Period. There's nothing more humble than that. You see, so I don't even rejoice in the things that would make me happy or get me excited. Think about us as men, right? Think about us as men. We all went to school. Somebody said, yo, there's a fight. What did you do? You ran to the fight, see who fight. That ain't right though. You know what I'm saying? But we want to see the fight. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that made us happy. These are the things that we rejoiced in. You know what I'm saying? You think the Most High was like, yeah, run it to the fight. Seeth who fighteth. You know what I mean? No. You know what I'm saying? The Most High is like, my people might are going to war against each other. I don't want that. But we like, yeah, fight. Because today was boring. It was mad boring in school today. At least something happened. What happened in school today? What we said, yo, there was a fight. You know what I'm saying? So what are we rejoicing in? If we rejoice in the thing, and that's when you learn the nature of the Father. You learn the nature of the Most High. You learn the nature of the Elohim. So then you know, see, that increases. It's kind of like what Akizak was saying about ignorance. People think ignorance is an asset. They really think ignorance is an asset. And you see that in what we celebrate. You have people who say they're conscious and they woke and all of that, and they still celebrate ignorance like it's cute. You know, or sometimes, you know, I'll be a little ratchet or whatever. You're a moron. There's nothing to celebrate about ignorance. It's not an asset, because our relationship with the divine and nature is determined by the quality of the way we think. You know, so it's like what Zach was saying. People say, oh, this is hard. This is this. And I feel, because you have low quality thinking. That's why. If I go try to play a certain sport and I don't have the right gear, or I got cheap gear, you know, like back in the days, they played basketball in Chuck Taylors. And all them old basketball players, their bodies, their backs are wrecked, their knees are wrecked, their ankles are wrecked. Because Chuck Taylors was like playing ball in slippers. There was nothing. It was canvas and a little thin sheet of rubber. You know what I'm saying? So that actually made the game harder, until they really brought scientists in and started to examine the foot and designing sneakers and stuff, not only for the game itself, but for the physiognomy of the player. You know, no, they need it needs this sort of support, these sort of laces, this sort of shape, you know, this sort of percentage, this sort of weight on it, so forth and so on. Right. So, if that's like the quality of our thinking. So now the quality of this, I'm just using sneakers. The quality of the sneaker improves. We don't even get into football. They should just wear little leather helmets like they was getting ready to fly planes. You wouldn't know they was flying planes about to play football. You know what I'm saying? A little leather helmet with two little straps off the side. You know what I'm saying? Like, and yeah, they was wrecked. You know, these are men who these are warriors, lived with a lot of pain, right? So the quality of the game and the quality of their performance was not the same, because they couldn't relate at the level that maybe newer players could, because of the quality that they had of just their gear, just their uniform. So now think about the quality of your thinking and your movement through nature. When your thinking is low quality, your experience through nature or through a transformative experience is extremely painful. Like recently, they just changed the UFC gloves. The UFC gloves are like thick now. Before they was so thin, because really the gloves that you use for mixed martial arts, they're not to protect your opponent. They're to protect your fist. You know, a lot of people don't realize that. They're not, you know, so it softens the blow. It's so you don't be busting your knuckles up and breaking your hands. But you still got you could feel a hard knuckle, especially once you're fighting, they get wet on the inside. And then once they get wet, they shrink down anyway. Same thing with boxing gloves. Once you're fighting for a while, your gloves get wet, they get heavier, but they also get thinner. So you feeling a fist on your face, you know. So as time goes on and things evolve, we get better gloves. We figure out, okay, it doesn't have to be that brutal. So now the quality of the game can change. You see, so when the quality of your thinking changes, you begin to think more like the Most High. The quality of your reaction changes. What you're excited about changes. You see, and the way you go through a learning experience, like through our new changes, you know, and you look joyfully when you're like, you know, I remember when Softa Gertrude one time was like, "Chief, let me have it. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how," and she wasn't doing anything wrong. But it's because the quality of her thinking was at the level where it's like, I'm here to improve. I don't care how hard it is. I'm here to improve. You see? But when someone comes in with cheap sneakers and a little cheap little leather helmet, and they have low quality thinking, the experience becomes unnecessarily arduous and laborious for them. And they start saying, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know why I'm doing all of this. Yeah. You see, it's the same thing going through nature. When you have low quality thinking, can you really understand nature? When it rains, are you celebrating? Or are you like, oh man, it rained again? And you're not thinking about the value of rain, though. You know, in scripture and in different native systems, we danced and celebrated when it rained. That was food for the crops. That's better thinking. When you think of like, oh, it rained. Oh, what a blessing. Just that whatever you called the Elohim that was above you blessed us with rain. But we live in a low quality, degenerate state of mind now. When it rains, we run into our car. Oh, we running into the house. Oh, it keeps raining. It's been raining all week. Yeah, cleaning all the filth off the street and you still complaining? Low quality thinking.
So last thing, so that makes me think of when you had said that a woman one time told you she didn't want to get with you because your life was too boring. Like that makes me think of how I'm thinking about it. Like I'm saying, okay, you can't really get happy because you got to be humble, but it's like there's ups and downs. So you're gonna have happy days and you're gonna have sad days. And I think the main reason why I was looking at it like that, because you also said in the other video of Pride, as you said, there was I think it was Buddhism. I don't remember which system it was, but you said they believe that you should never be too high or too low. You should always be directly in the middle. So I thought like you shouldn't, veer off to one side. But then based off of what you're saying now, like it's okay. Like you don't gotta be numb to it. You can get happy and you can get sad, but it has to be aligned with your creator. It shouldn't be aligned with someone else's ideas or perceptions.
It should always be anchored in knowing what the light and the dark is. See, that's the difference. Some people don't even allow themselves the time to learn light and dark. They know one polarity. So sometimes even when I'm working with them, they're constantly telling me, well, you need to do this. I might say you need to do that. You need to start here. Well, that's not going to work for me. I'm this type of person. I'm that type. That ain't I did all that already. You didn't do crap, because people who did stuff don't talk like that, right? So they're stuck in one polarity. So they don't know the light from the dark. It's like when people say, man, I read the Bible from cover to cover, man, and all religions are saying the same thing. The Bible ain't nothing in there for me. Okay, well, you didn't. And if I come in and say, well, you didn't read it right. And of course, I never say it like that, because the person speaking like that is already prideful and arrogant. I already know where. Once you say something like that, I already know there's really nothing I can say to you. I know that. But if I say, oh, you read it from cover to cover, that you studied it. You're saying, yeah, I studied it. I just said that. I read it. Okay, you read it. So where does the Bible come from? I'll just ask a simple question, like how did it show up? Where is it from? Why did it get into all that? Okay. What does the word mean, Bible? It's God's book, the book of God, the saints. They start making up stuff and not recognizing, regardless of what I've done, I have been walking on the side of ignorance through this whole entire time and exploring the polarities of ignorance. So when someone is now bringing light, I'm assimilating it with my ignorant journey and saying I did that already, or I already know that, right? So I don't even know what it is to go to one polarity and then go to the other. I don't even know what that really looks like. So I don't know the middle point, because I'm really always leaning on one side. You see? So that's an important thing to understand. Like, it's not an issue of like I keep myself constrained. I become constrained because I enjoy my middle point. You see, so yeah, I can whip over here and then come back to middle. I could whip over there and then come back to middle, right? But my coming back to middle is because of the walk that I'm walking. You see, and it's because of the purpose that I'm not. Just like right now, we could joke and laugh for 5-10 minutes. I guarantee you, I'm gonna pull it back to yeah. So moving forward, I'm gonna go back to the chat, start reading the chat again, because the purpose of us coming together right now is what? To grow and to evolve as men, to be great giant men in the world. To glorify the Elohim who sent us and created us. So no matter what we're doing, it's always going to come back to that. So when you have a mission and a platform or foundation that you're standing on that's alive, coming back to center is just going to happen naturally. You can't. There's always going to be a baseline that you're going to come to, but that baseline is going to change, and it's going to sort of grow and evolve. You see, so that gray area, it will get narrower as it evolves, and it will become less distinguishable. When you're in either high zone or low zone, people won't really be able to tell the difference. You'll know. You see. So it's really just about what you're allowing to flow through you, and the mission that you have. What is it that you're rejoicing in? What is it that you're excited about? You see, when I see y'all actually learning and applying, I get excited about that, right? And it's not because I love y'all so much. Ain't got nothing to do with that. See, I keep it real. I'm just telling you honestly. I love me. But it's because it proves the Most High to me every time. It proves, because like when y'all are growing, y'all are not growing through easy effort. I already know that. I already know, because I know what I've put you through. I know when the Most High said, yeah, tell El Karar he got to get on and start breaking down, get on the live every strong breakdown movies, then do history classes. And I know I ain't never did nothing like that. I don't know. Yeah, you could do it. And then he does it, and then he starts to grow and blossom, and other things start to happen for him. Other awarenesses start to open up. I rejoice in that. And not because I knew I was right, because I wasn't right. It wasn't me. I rejoice in it. It's like, oh, it's like watching a psychological thriller. It's like, that's what you was doing. Oh, or when the name El Karar comes, name him El Karar. That's a 2-for-1. He got two names. I don't even got two names. You know what I'm saying? Why he get two, Lord? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, okay. Okay, it's a different flow that you, okay, got it. So there's a rejoicing in being, I'm humbled to be a part of the plan. You see, that may not be something that everyone celebrates it, because I know it's not within Anu. Like when you mention, like some women say, oh, it's too hard to be with you because they're just thinking about themselves. It's too hard for me to be with you because I will have to jump through too many hoops to get what I want. You shouldn't be wanting anything other than to serve. If you want anything other than that, your life is going to be miserable anyway, because you're ruled by your lower person.
Oh, I would, I would say, especially when it comes to humility, sometimes I always take from this, from the movie The Ten Commandments, that line that, Charlie Heston always says, when always remember, Eleazar, he passed by your house. Where I believe that, in the sense that, I know the Most High may not remember, but for me, it's like, but I remember, and I'm grateful, and I want to say thanks, because you didn't, Thanks, because you didn't have to do it. You know what I'm talking about? You know, you may have forgot about that, but thanks. But I remember. You know, it's my job to remember. I'm not being proud for anything, but I just let you know, whether you remember or not, that's okay. But I remember. I remember when you had me, and you didn't even have to do it, because you know I did some messed up things. But thank you. You know, thank you sincerely. Thank you. Like I was very respectful and admirable when I met Chief, and he said, you know, I said, you know, thanks for having me and everything. He said, oh, it's my honor. I thought that was so, you know, admirable, because to me that showed humility. But for all that he does, man, I mean, and just say, oh, it's my honor. You know, I don't hear that from nobody. You know what I'm talking about? Or I don't hear no man talk like that. You know, there's a lot of ignorance, you know, with people, especially, you know, they don't want to be the authority of their own thought, or build, you know, with their own bricks, but they want to, you know, pick off somebody else's bones or parrot what somebody else is talking about. But I mean, to me, that's where, you know, the Most High gives you that vision and give you that authority. Because like you say, I'm still studying history. Like I had to tell my uncle, you know, he was like, man, I wish you would have done something in history. I was like, man, I'm always doing something in history. It's in me, not on me. You know, y'all, you know, had to have degrees and something to prove, but it's in me, not on me. I live this, man. I live it. You can't say I'm not doing that, because I can still tell you things, and I'm still studying, and I'm still learning. I'm still getting that, like when Chief talking about, you know, the rains. I was like, yeah, you know, people thought I was weird for standing outside just watching the rain. And here I am just thinking, you know, something's being washed away. Something's being washed away. Whatever it is being washed away. You know, that is amazing. You know, or wow, look at the sky. Man, God really got a dang on paint game, because how he does that, man, even Bob Hop, whatever that dang white Afro, you know, boy was, he can't do that. But man, that's amazing. You know, and you know, like I say, there's a lot of ignorance with people, and they be like, you can't judge me or anything like that. But like you say, Chief, you should be able to judge, you know. But coming to that humility, but also as men, you have to build and have bricks. Like, you know, it's amazing how I'm still studying, you know, especially in history, and how, you know, certain scholars don't even pay attention to Shemitic cultural way of thinking in historical context, because they look at, you know, like the Sumerian kings list. They be like, oh, you know, these kings living for 30,000 or 20,000 years, that's improbable. And it's like, oh, and you mean this is pre-flood? I'm looking at it totally different. I'm looking at it totally with a different mindset. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, you know, how, you know, they'll say, okay, this is Sumerian, and then here is, you know, Shemitic people, but you ain't gonna say it's the Khazars. So you already know who they talking about. But some people won't even put themselves into it and say, he talking about me. You know, they spend so much time keeping you out. He talking about me, you know. But if you don't keep on, like you say, questing, you know, going on a quest, going on a knowledge quest, and carrying knowledge and wisdom and understanding, you won't get it. You know, you definitely won't get it, you know, and you definitely will be prideful and think you did it all to yourself. You know, I think of, you know, my dad, and how, you know, he will always say, you know, if I said thank you for something, he said, son, that's what daddies do. I don't need no you know, no medal or anything. That's what I'm supposed to do. You know, it's like some people need validation for doing what you're supposed to do, but not really learning the lesson in the work. Like, oh, you know, let me be grateful that I got a good family, because I shouldn't have that. You know, like you say, especially when I come from an insane family myself. Shoot, probability says I don't deserve that, but I'm grateful that the Most High passed by my house. He passed me by, but you know, he passed by my house. You know, some ain't getting that. But yeah, that's all I want to say. I'm done.
Nah, man, that's powerful, brother. Like you got me rocking in my chair, like Sophia. Like that's some heavy stuff, man. Because it's like you said, people are looking for a validation of who you are based on somebody else's system. You know what I mean? There's times when I'm still in the old neighborhood, dudes be like, "Yo, you still cutting? You still cutting here?" It's like, "Yo, I need a cut, bro." Like you don't see what's standing in front of you. You know what I mean? Like I could do a lot of other things now than cut your hair, but that's the valid, man. Your barbershop used to be it, man. You had everybody, you used to cut everybody. Yeah, used to's a rooster. You know what I'm saying? We on something else now, so that sense of like, well, that's how I saw it was real. Or people say, man, you still into the music? Of course. I was into the music. I've been playing instruments since I was 7 years. So I was in music since 7. And really, I could say before that, because my father used to, when I was in diapers, used to put headphones on me all the time, play all these different records, man. El Gato, Ray Beretta, old Tito Puente records. So I grew up listening to these things as an infant in diapers, got pictures of it, and me just zoning out. Listening to this old Latin music, came up with that, and then he would just graduate it as I got older and things like that, right? So I was in music then, even though I didn't know how to play an instrument. I picked up guitar at 7, right? So whether you go to ASCAP and you see my name on it, oh wow, he did do that song for so and so, whatever, or not, it doesn't matter. When I was in the basement jamming with my uncles, I'm in music. I'm doing music. You know what I'm saying? We just jamming. We just, so that's a powerful statement because people they want to see a certain thing expressed by the way the world says it's valued. So when I say like I'm honored because somebody allowed you space and their life to be an agent of transformation. How could you not be honored by that? Well, I'm gonna say, oh yeah, oh man, ain't nothing. It's my pleasure. Hey, this is what I do. Yeah, somebody said, hey, I'm on this journey. I'm moving on this journey, and here's another thing: you wasn't always chief. The Most High knows your rotten ass. He knows what stuff you've been doing, and the Most High says, even with what you were, and maybe even some of the thoughts you still have, I'm going to allow you opportunity to build some good karma by assisting another one in their journey. That's an honor. Like, really? You going to let me do that? Wow. It's like when I first started cutting hair, I was begging anybody let me cut them. I needed to practice. So they could have been like, wow, you gave me a cut. Thanks. No, thank you. Because now I could point to people. When I was in school, I could be like, yo, I cut him, right? Yo, you want to cut? I cut him. And then I remember doing that for probably a couple months. Then I started I used to charge $2. Believe it or not. Now I ain't that old. I know y'all think, well, yeah, that was a lot of money back then. No, it was $2 back then. Right. So it wasn't like this ain't like the movie Life with Martin and like I'll get paid $10 a week. No, it was $2. Like you couldn't buy you could buy $1 sandwich from the deli and 4 quarter waters, So it was just $2. But it was like I need to cut hair, like I need to practice, and so I cut you for $2. Then I went from 2 to 5. I cut you for $5, right? It was an honor. Every time I never looked at it like, yo, you getting over, Well, actually, I had a couple dudes who was trying to get over because they want, I want a design, I want a Nike symbol and a palm tree, and you know what I'm saying, and I want EPMD, and they're like, come on, bro, it's $5. I'm cutting you. It was like an hour now. I'm cutting your filthy hair and all these designs in your hair like that. Come on, bro, it's $5, man. You know what I mean? So, but it's an honor because you're allowing me to work on my craft with you. Something as sacred as cutting your hair. If I mess up, you're gonna go to school tomorrow and they're gonna get you. They're gonna get you. Yo, who cut you? You know what I mean? So it's an honor to be a part of someone's transformative journey, you know, but a lot of times people have a perspective that's ruled. It shows who they're ruled by. You know, when the mob rules you, you know, mob mentality. He's from Chicago. He's like, I'll tell you something about the mob now.
Hey, yo, you know, Mr. You know, we do this thing around here. You know?
That's why I had to clean it up. I had to clean up mob mentality.
But I also know what you mean, the mob, you know, wrong,
yeah,
things like
the
that.
people. When the masses rule you, you know, you become ruled by ignorance. Ignorance is the mantra of the masses. Ignorance. You can see that in the music today. You can see that in the films today. What the majority of people enjoy and like is ignorant. And if you can express ignorance, they love you all the more. The more intelligence you express, the less the masses like you. You see, you can ask people, well, how much is Kanye worth? How much is Kim Kardashian worth? How much is Jay-Z and Beyonce worth? Like their net worth. How much are the Smiths worth? How much is Robert Stewart worth? Who? How much was Reginald Lewis worth before he transitioned? Who? Oh, these were smart people. These were smart billionaires. Never heard of them, huh? You see, billionaires before the ones that you celebrating who got rich off of ignorance. So that the mob is always, you know, when someone's just ignorant or they don't want to know, I don't know, they're ruled by the mob. In the same instance, when you have a lot of people like who are very superstitious, they're ruled by the church. You know, church and religions make superstitious people. You know, you can't really get around it, you know, so it's kind of like you start to get a sense just by how people come at you, what they're saying. When someone is ruled by the state or governed by the state, I should use the word govern. They're ruled by fear. So when you're governed by the mob, you're ruled by ignorance. When you're governed by the church, you're ruled by superstition. When you're governed by the state, you're ruled by fear. So it's just like when you start coming to consciousness, you start doing certain things, or you say, hey man, well, I'm gonna change my name to this. I'm gonna grow my beard out, or I'm gonna wrap my hair, have my hair natural. People start telling you all of the job opportunities you're gonna miss because that's what you're doing. Okay, so now I see you governed by the state. Gotcha. You see, and then that's a mob mentality because it's fear-based. Oh, don't do that, man. You do that, you know, them people going to, okay. So ignorance has to be everything. You see, when you rule by the church, you say, I remember one time I was talking to this sister, beautiful sister, so I'm not getting on anything. She's a Seventh-day Adventist sister I've known for many years. And she asked me, she was like, what are you about to do tonight? Whatever, we were leaving each other. I said, man, I'm gonna go home and have a talk with Baba. And she started shaking and she was like, here we go. Here we go. And I said, why are you saying that? She was like, because you just always into that, like, you know, that voodoo and occult stuff. I said, do you know what the word Baba means? And she was like, it's something I don't want anything to do with. I said, it means father. I was saying to her, I'm going to go home and pray to the Father. And even when I said that, I said it means father, she was still shaking her head like, you know? So it's like, yeah, you're ruled by the church. So you're superstitious, and your superstition has not been mutated into faith, which is the growing up of that thing. You see, in the same instance, when you're ruled by fear, you know, which the state will, the state will have you thinking fearfully, that should be transmutated into love. You know, the higher order of fear is love, just like the higher order of superstition is faith. You see, the higher order of ignorance is wisdom. You know, but it shows who you're ruled by. So if I'm ruled by the creator, I'm not ruled by the mob. I don't give a damn about the world or the mob. I don't care what they say is cool, what's not cool. I don't care. I never really cared. I always loved that like just Pac, Me Against the World. You know, I always love that song. Like, yeah, that's how I feel. I always felt like that. Me against the world. I don't give a F, right? So as a result, what do I care about? I care about the creator. How's the creator looking at me? You see, so as a result, I'm not ruled by ignorance, but rather I'm ruled by truth because I'm governed by the creator. You see. So yeah, man, when you have that sort of ideation that you're stepping forward with, man, it changes the whole way that you look at things, you know. So that harmony and that understanding that's required inside of a space by like Anu, it requires you to look at who's been governing you and who's still governing you. And if you're governed by these external sick factions, you'll never be able to have harmony with people. Ever. Never, ever, ever. You'll never have harmony. Ever. It's designed that way. I wanted to read Menelek's comments, though, before we, because he had a bunch he put in there. Uh-oh. Hold on, let me read this. My comments disappeared. All right. Because I said I was going to read them. Menelek says, he said a lot. he said, I've been building on Maya, and the one podcast is strong. Didn't he say he was building on that last strong? And the concept of moving on your note. The idea is that knowledge of self and being able to move through the world on the horizontal while still being tethered to the Most High, at the same time not being on either or situation. I practice moving with both, but would often get distracted, either by getting caught daydreaming or being so caught up in worldly activity that I would lose focus on the divine. The only way I could focus on both is when I slowed things way down, which allowed me to spot the distractions on either side. The importance of laws of morality are parts of the formula that were brought up as well, which eliminate distractions. The importance of laws. Okay, no, I'm sorry, that was a double. So that's what Menelek was building on. I'm gonna just read a couple more of these. Sovereign Eats, or Sister Murray says, this is the story of Cain, who made his offering, but his countenance falls when Yah does not have respect for his offering, only his brothers. Providence is what Yah offers always. Yahweh says we are taught to look at the rain as gloom. House of Yah says that rain brings a level of peace and calmness, especially in the city where there's so much chaos. House of Yah says that reminds me of Cain. He desired and gave a subpar offering. The Most High was trying to tell him this, and then Yahweh says this is on Cain and Abel. This was the issue with Cain. He just wanted so he could possess something. He wanted because his brother had, but never did what was right in order to receive. He came in disastrous. The House of Yah says, Yah is my shepherd, I shall not want. It makes me think of that lesson and thinking this means that Yah will supply all of your wants. I remember Master teaching that it was a matter of not wanting, but simply following Yah. So Yahweh asks a question. So if we are found wanting and we get stuck in time and don't grow and therefore don't see the growth of others because we are constantly turned inwards. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. That's been the issue this whole time. People are always pocket watching. Always pocket watching. That's where all the fakeness in the conscious community comes from. What made you think you had to wear dashiki? You had to put cowrie shells in your hair. You had to walk around with sandals. You had to say peace. Where'd you get all that from? You were watching somebody else. And then when you had people who broke through that, like in the early 2000s, you had groups like Dead Prez. Dead Prez came through. They were conscious, but they were using the N-word and talking about drinking and smoking and tearing stuff up. But then they were still talking about political ideology. So then you had a whole cadre of people around that time, like your Sarah Suit and Setis and different people who now they're teaching, because before that, teaching consciousness was like being a jazz musician. You could almost associate it to the same sort of environment. Jazz musicians don't wear sweatsuits. Jazz musicians wear suits. They wear button-up shirts. They wear ties. That's one of the ways you distinguish a jazz musician. You know the difference because of the way they present themselves, man. And being a jazz musician, and I'm telling you, as a musician, it's like it's a different world. It's a different world. Your travel is different when you do jazz. If the instruments you got to bring with you, it's a different kind of labor. If you got an upright bass, that's a huge giant. It's like carrying a dinosaur around with you. It's huge. If you're doing a gig somewhere, you want to know, is there piano tune? You probably not bringing a synthesizer that you could just strap over your shoulder real quick. Is there piano tune? Right? So it's a totally different way of being. And then the type of spaces you're in, brunches, weddings, stuff like that, you got to come in with a certain level of sophistication. That's how the conscious community used to be. It was sophisticated. I've never seen Dr. Clark dressed down. I've never personally seen it, or Ivan Van Sertima. Astro Quasi will always have a dashiki on, but I've never heard any profanity out of these individuals' mouths, right? Because there was a certain level of sophistication. And I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, because there's different eras and there's different expressions, of course. But I'm using that as a mirror to show like where the conscious community, quote unquote, moved through. So then you have people who came like, okay, I'm like dead prez, like I'm wearing regular street gear, whatever. I got locks. I'm cursing. I'm using the N-word, this and that, but I'm conscious. Okay, that spoke to a certain group of people, right? And then it went to just different phases, right? Now that phase is over because all the people who came in on that side door scammed everybody. So now when you see that, now you had what became the Hoteppers. So like when Umar Johnson came along, he tried to bring that old regime of like, I'm respectable, I'm a psychologist and this and that, only to find out that he's just more grimier than everybody else, right? So the thing is, it's like, who are you looking at to determine what consciousness and evolution is supposed to look like? You pocket watching. You looking at everybody else and saying, well, let me act like that, because there's no inward change. There's no inward evolution. You're not really evolving. You may be changing the way you eat or the way you dress or the way you speak, but even that is modeled off of someone else. So it's not authentic. And that is satanic. That's the satanic mind right there. You see, and you have to that's where great men come into play. Whether, in the life of a woman or in the life of other men, where they have vision. And they can use that vision to say, boom. When I was a young boy, my pops put me on a Paul Robeson because everybody used to tell me like, yo, because when you turn 18, the way you play these instruments, like you're going to be famous. Like you could do all kinds of session work. You be able to play with this one. So that was what was in my mind as a child. Like, I don't need school. Like I already know when I turn, so I'm going to go play for Michael Jackson. Like that's all that was in my mind. Like I don't need school. And one day my pops, and I know he was lying about this now, but he was like, man, I know a cat who's he's a doctor, but on the weekends he plays sax. I'm like, really? Because I didn't know you could do two things back there. But I know he's lying. I'm looking back like he was lying. You know what I mean? But I didn't know a person could do two things because of the socialization through institutions. What do you want to be when you grow up? Why can't I be it now? And why is it always one thing? So then he was like, man, you need to learn about Paul Robeson. I was like, who the heck was that? He put me on a Paul Robeson. I'm like, yo. And he had a deep voice too, because I had deep voices as I was a kid. So I'm like, I really associated. Man, he was a track star. He was acting. He was singing. He was doing activist work. Dude was brilliant. He was a modern day Imhotep. So that put in my mind like, yo, you ain't got to just do one thing. Now all of a sudden I'm back in school getting all A's, and like I'm gonna do the school thing, and I'm gonna be a lawyer, and I'm gonna be this, and I'm gonna go on tour with Michael Jackson. I got all of that going. So where are you getting your sense of what evolution looks like? See, Paul Robeson for me was the well, back then I used the term Renaissance man, you know, and then eventually I said, no, he's an Imhotepian man. F the Renaissance. Imhotep was before that, you know, but that idea of what evolution looks like for you, because my God, my father was able to say, son, yeah, you have a lot of talents, but you're smart. Like, so you can actually do this and do that. Now, he was the only one who could say that to me. I ain't trying to hear that from nobody else. He could say that to me because he made me. He created me. You see? So he sparked that idea of what evolution looks like for me. Not the masses, not the church, not the state. They already had a plan that would have kept me locked into a certain grid. So that's where great men of vision come in, where you can look and say, you know, have you considered this? Have you ever thought about this? You know, or hey, man, I got somebody you should look up that you might find interesting. You see. So because we are assimilating our growth from people who are going down their path and their road of growth, and thinking that it should apply universally. And there's nothing that applies when it comes to evolution on a universal level other than truth. Truth is the universal path. That's it. And we all go through that path, and it looks different for each and every one of us based on where our starting point is. You see? Okay.
Hey, I hear you with that, G, because, you know, when I think of another one, I think of, you know, Sammy Davis Jr. You know, he could play drums, he can do impersonations, he can sing,
comedy, sing,
shooters,
dancing,
dance, I mean, tap. I mean, he can do
what could he not do?
What can he not do? You know what I'm talking about? And he was so talented and whatnot, and things like that. And not only that, it's just like I see what you're saying, especially when it comes to, you know, jazz musicians walking a different road. Because if you ever, you know, like my dad, you know, impressionated me on things like, you know, Miles Davis and Louis Armstrong, and then seeing, you know, just seeing the path that they had to take. Because like you say, they like their own priesthood, but they dress differently. They interpret each other's sounds and music interpretation very differently. You know, like how one reporter asked, like, how you know how to go on this note with, you know, when he's up, and then, you know, Bird was like, man, you got to be willing to die for it, you know.
Right.
You know,
you got to jump out there.
Yeah, you know. So it's like, you know, no one teaches us, you know, you only get one occupation and that's it. You know, no one says, oh, but you can do something else. You know what I'm saying? You can not just do that. You can do that. Nobody tells you can be multifaceted. You can be an Imhotep because the Most High made you that way. You know what I'm talking about? And that, you know, that's the, you know, that's probably the humbleness that, yeah, that's, you know, but you're the only people that said, yes, we'll follow you. Everybody else could have probably had the same thing, but they chose to follow somebody else.
Right.
You see how they, you know, probably be like, actually, how they got, you know, you gotta stab yourself and all this. I ain't gotta do all that. You know, you gotta call from day to night. Ball still ain't answering. You know, he still ain't answering you. But it's like, you know, man, that's it. I'm done.
He's like, talk about jumping off a cliff, but that's true, man. I mean, it's exactly what you just said, brother. Like, you know, taking those different looks and realizing that we're multifaceted, also because we're a people of ancestors. We the ancestor people, so we're Highlanders out here. You know what I'm saying? When one goes, that's us. You know, so you find out, oh man, my uncle was into all this occult information. I bet you them books is either in the attic or in the basement getting moldy. Go take them books, because it's you now. You know what I mean? Every time someone transitions, they raise up an energy in us for us to be that thing going forward. You see, and once you kind of understand that concept, that ancestral concept, that's that He-Man. You know, I got the power by the power of Grayskull. What the heck is Grayskull? Grayskull is the ancestors. I have the power, right? So it's the same sort of concept. And once you pull from all that ancestral talent, you realize, well, dag, man, I have millions of ancestors. So how many different things can I do? Everything that they could do. It's just, how are you living your life? Are you living your life in a tapped in sort of way where everything that you do reflects what it is that you have a beauty and a grace for? Or is most of your life based around survival? When you look at your finances, where does the majority of your money go? Does it go to rent and this and that and utilities of survival? Or does it go to expansion? You know, imagine if you currently live in a 5-bedroom house and, you know, you're paying $3,100 in mortgage for it. And you say, you know what? I'm going to get me a quarter-acre plot of land and put a trailer on it. And even if you got a family of 4, we're going to live in this trailer. And what you going to do with all that leftover money? Give it to people. Like, that's just going to be our whole thing. Like, that's our occupation is going to be giving it. It's going to be given. We're going to be like gods out here because God just be giving. We're going to be like gods, right? People would say, what? You crazy. You can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? I can't base my life around philanthropic efforts. I can't do that. Or I'm insane if I live in a mansion and decide to go live in a cabin, you know, because what does it mean now? Well, my family, we're going to be closer with each other. Oh, who wants that? You know, or I'm going to live in a space where I got workshops all over the place. See, me, I'm a workshop person. You know, I'm type person, I put sheds all over the place because I want a room to do some music. I want a room to do some woodworking. I want a room to do some metalworking. Yeah, I got to have a spot to work on my motor. I like tinkering with my motorcycles. I like tinkering with my cars. I like, you know, give me a different spot to do all the stuff. I got to have a martial arts room. Got to have a workout room, you know. So that's not expensive to do. If you said, I'm going to spend all my money or all of my efforts towards the expression of my divine talents, how much different would your life look? Or where you live, or what you do for a living, or where the bulk of your money goes? You see, if you got rid of what you needed to sustain yourself in the world, and when I say got rid of, you minimize that. You say, okay, now I'm able to survive in the world off of $500 a month. You see, that takes care of everything. Now I can go have some fun. You see, I'm gonna dig a hole and build a pond in my yard, and I'm just gonna swim all day because I like swimming. You know, like whatever it is.
Buy me some dang on horses because I like horse riding. You know?
Right. Oh, exactly. There you go. I want to ride horses, and you know, so my money's gonna go towards horses, or you know, whatever that thing is. You see, but what are you ruled by that limits you? Because fear is going to be the limiter. You know, and if you rule by the state, you're going to be functioning from fear. You see, oh man, you move out in the middle of the woods, especially man, black man like me, man, them rednecks and them hillbillies run up on your property. You see, you start all that. Oh, you rule by the state. Gotcha. Well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to buy land. I don't. Oh, you rule by the mob. Okay, gotcha. You see. So it shows who governs you. I'm gonna read some of these comments before we go to the next thing. I might miss some. So Sovereignty says it's $5 and you have one head. LOL. I'm not sure that we went so far. It's a chance we are given daily to serve the kingdom of our Creator. Right. Jacquez talking about watching white guys have all the fun. That's Reginald Lewis's book. Great book. I love that book, man. I love that book. House of US says, I remember being told that I would never get a job if I wore my hair natural. This was coming from older women as a teen. And at that time, I didn't understand what they were trying to do. They were ruled by the state. They were also women who wore a lot of makeup, hair weaves, and fingernails. It was like everything was a mask to get into those spaces. I remember trying to defend myself at that time and was crying, trying to state my stance. Even then I knew we would present ourselves a certain way. It's like priming the leaves, but not digging up the roots to make those changes. You taught this in Deliverance. Right. I mean, that's a very real thing. I remember my mother getting sent home from so many jobs. It was like a regular thing. She wore braids back in the, like cornrow braids, way back in the days when you did not do that, you know, unless you was a weed smoking Black Panther, you know, which was pretty accurate. But she also just happened to be a great accountant too, you know. And I remember so many days coming home from school, Mommy, what you doing home? Yeah, they let me go. You know, and she just, you know, they said either cut my hair or, you know, I could leave. And I said, nope, you can give my check now. You know, so yeah, let's go apple picking. You know what you want to do? Every time she got fired, we're gonna do something fun. You know, we're gonna pick apples or something like that. You know, but that was a stance from way back, and it was that. So back in the days, that was a very real thing. But she was able to do that and to walk out pounding her chest because she had a man. You know, ain't no biggie. You know, daddy got it. We good. You know, so that allows a woman to be free in who she's supposed to be when that proper structure is in place. You see, so that sacrifice wasn't even necessary. I ain't gotta do that. Nah, we good. You know, I'm just working really for fun money, for trip money. You know, so Logan says, this strong, I was looking into the metal of mercury and how it interacts with gold. As I saw the leaf become absorbed into the mercury, I thought of how the personality can absorb the higher self and try to make it seem like there is the mercury, and it takes fire or light, knowledge, and wisdom and the trials to remove that mercury and have that pure gold remain. I was also reflecting on the insanity of my grandparents and how unaware I am of how that's even affected me, despite most times not thinking it is. Yeah, man. That separation, you see, that the separation of the metals and the refining process, it's a deep thing. Whether you're looking at silver, whether you're looking at gold, the painful process, that the pure refinement, you know. But again, that changes the quality of thinking. Just like when you change the quality of gold, what happens? It conducts electricity better. So what is electricity? Light. So what's inside of light? Codes. Even when you watch the movie The Matrix, what do you see on the screen? Light, codes. You see 0 and 1s, but it's lit up, 0 and 1s. So it's telling you that, right? Matrix for the win once again.
I always got but with me, it's like, you know, I'm a Doom guy. So as we talk about this, it's like you get into being, you know, pre-born and having all these memories of all these people. You know, one show I used to like, you know, was Andromeda. Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, and one episode, you know, they meet these people that were able to, you know, have the genetic memory of their whole bloodline, you know, and they remember it like it was yesterday, you know, talking about. And I thought that was so interesting. I was like, why can't that still be done where you learn from, you know, and still have that genetic bloodline? I mean, it pretty much can't be done. I mean, in slavery, we sort of proved it, you know. That's why that whole nature versus nurture thing happened, when we just did things that seemed natural. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, but that's
an operation through wisdom. See, like, I guess it goes back to what Raheem was saying, like, what are we proud of? Wisdom only exists within humility. That's one of the reasons why the woman is wisdom. She's closer to the ground. But the thing about wisdom is so amazing, is that it's consistently bowing to its source, which is what makes it wisdom. When you think about water, water is always going back to its source. Water is wisdom. So like with a concept like that, like tapping into ancestral wisdom only happens when you bow to the wisdom that you're tapping into at the same time. So it's like a water wheel. You're constantly like you're pulling from it, but then you're bowing to it, pulling from it, bowing to it, you know. And when you're able to do that, you're able to always replenish that wisdom. You know, that's the great value of it, man. Wisdom always bows to its own source. You know, so us bowing to our Egun and like, wow, man, like ballet, like I bow my head. Wow, you did this and you did that, and I can pull this and I can pull that, but still charging forward with that wisdom, but then going back and still bowing to it, it allows for us to be replenished by that at the same time, you know. Yeah.
Y'all are talking about shows that I've never seen before, so it's hard for me to jump in here. I don't know what show you just said.
We only know
Oh,
the Matrix. It ain't the Matrix and the Lion King.
I share which I exact. It was one of those, you know. It was from the guy that made Star Trek and whatever, but you know, then he had this B show before he died. You know, he made Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. But I thought it was so cool because you had, you know, that, but you also had this human race called Nietzscheans, and their whole philosophy on life was based off of Nietzsche. But also they live like you actually had like alphas and things like that, and plurality and things like that, and you have, man, if I don't do this, you know, my genes become suspect, so I gotta, you know, win. And that's what they was about. They was about, man, I'm gonna do this so I can have, you know, family and things like that. I always thought the Nietzscheans was so cool because, you know, you have this human be like, oh, you know, we love, you know, what I have for my fiance, that's love. And you have the Nietzscheans like, oh, we have love. No, y'all don't. He was like, yes, we do, because everything that we do, you know, is a, you know, negotiation. I just say like it's a negotiation. You know what I'm saying? You just think you just used to the magic, but I'm not basing that off of magic. You know what I'm talking about? I'm doing this, you know, to, you know, where me and my mate, we understand each other. That's why we get this, you know, this symbol that says we're not bound just by blood, but we're also bound by metal. It was just an interesting, you know, I was there for the Nietzscheans, but basically the guy that played the Nietzsche, because he was this black guy with dreads, you know, deep voice, you know, and he was just cool through the whole damn thing. But I just thought that you know, with a lot of sci-fi shows, but I just thought the philosophy of, you know, being and well, having family and making pride, you know, branching off, making your own pride, being your own alpha and things like that. I thought that was cool in the show. Not saying that it was good. I'm just saying that philosophically was cool to me. You know what I'm talking about? And it was something to, you know, like you know, where you fighting and it was about bloodline and things like that, and creating family. Man, it was cool. It was cool. It's not Babylon 5 or Battlestar Galactica, but it was cool.
Well, and one of the pieces when you just it started making me think about something the Chief said. He was like, "Y'all don't have love," and then he was like, "Yes, we do." And then it starts making me think of just how is one able to stand on who and what they are when other people or maybe the group is trying to tell you something totally different. So even when the group might say this is how, like the state will say you should do things this way, and then one goes out and so I might have fear, or church will tell you you need to do things this way, and then as soon as one starts going the other way, can one stand up and say, no, this is actually how I do it, we do it, or is it easier for one to conform to the group, where the group then starts to dictate and govern somebody's thoughts of saying, okay, this is how we will enter into a relationship, this is how we will buy houses, or, you know. And then even going back to when, you know, thinking about when y'all was talking about music and coming together, and then, you know, you just got to jump in. And I don't know why, but Neely Fuller jumped into my head when he just was talking about, you know, if y'all ain't coming together to build on anything, stay away from each other because of the sickness. And I'm like, and it just started making me think about, why can't people just start to come together And you feel like it's not, I'm gonna jump in and play off of the note that somebody else is. So it's not me trying to one up or say something smarter than what Akiel Karar is saying, because I gotta be the one that's just, why can't one just jump in and just be, I'm glad that he's found his note or he's playing his note. Let me jump in and try to play a note. But instead, it's almost like, no, I'm gonna show you my note. I'm gonna try and play mine stronger than his. Or you got a car, I'm gonna get a bigger house than yours. Or I'm gonna get a bigger car than yours. Now I'm gonna stun on you. And it's like going at each other as opposed to playing with each other. And then and like Chief said earlier, one which when you broke that down, and now it totally makes sense of one coming on half the day, and then somebody who's been there the entire day and getting paid the same, which then started to really make sense when you was like somebody who's been doing this. My parents weren't conscious. I ain't practiced any of this, right? So one can come on and be like, hold on, man, I've been doing this and this and this for my entire life, and then this person comes along, and why should they get, and it's easy to get stuck into that negative mindset of looking at others and then start to comparing yourself, and why are they getting this, or they shouldn't have this, or I'm gonna have to, because I've been here longer, than I should have to show and prove that I got way more than what this person has, as opposed to just celebrating and showing some humility of and an attitude of gratitude, which I think really is what is going to start to keep one having poured wisdom into, is just being grateful of this. If you're grateful of, and I know this is going to sound like a cliche, you're grateful of what you have, then you'll start to get more. But and then when it's like, man, I deserve this, or I should have had this, or I should have had this long time ago, and so got it, and now he's way beyond me. Now it's like the gratitude is gone. Why should you get anything else? And I'm thinking, like, even if somebody was to give something, then it's like, would you be more to give to a child who is grateful that you have given them just something or anything of that nature, or if one that just be like, yeah, thank you, but my parents gave me such and such, or I get this all the time anyway. Would you be more apt to give them anything else after the fact that you have already seen them be ungrateful for this, whatever it is that you give? And I'm like, I guess as we mature, it would be no different. That if one starts to, even like a dollar, I mean, either you're going to be grateful for the dollar, or it's like, yeah, but why ain't I get $100 though? Or why ain't I get 50? Because I saw so-and-so got this. And instead of praising and being grateful that the other person may have got something, and saying, now, yeah, okay, we got 51 because I can put my one with the 50. Now it's like, no, I want what that person has. And now it's like, we can't make good music together. We can't jump in and play and build as a community, and somebody bringing a brick, because now it's not, I'm bringing my brick, well, your brick is bigger than my brick, so now I got to bring a bigger brick, so that therefore now I can show everybody that I'm the one that can build better than anybody else in here. And it's like, this is my last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna stop talking, of just it was the goat analogy that or was it goat or sheep? I think it was a question that she asked, and he was like, if these sheep are all in a toxic, plant, and they're all, then what do you think is going to become of it? And it's like, it's going to influence everything that one does, but how does everyone not pay attention to the person who's pointing out the toxic plant? Like, this is what baffles me, is they like, look at this plant is now controlling and manipulating everything that you do and how you start to see life. But it's like, no, I'm not going to pay attention to that. I still have to make it within this matrix in order for me to prove that I am actually of value. And it's like, no, you separate from it so you can actually start to see some tangible growth. I know I was bouncing all over the place, but y'all.
No.
That
Getting it out. No.
Mm-hmm. That makes me think of something I was saying the other day, and something that Chief has also said. So first I'll start with I was saying how back in like the times of slavery, how like the field slave and the house slave would like argue back and forth on who was better. And I would say like how is the house slave gonna feel better than the field slave if you're both slaves? Like, you guys are both being mastered by someone. And it made me think of when Chief said, like, we were made to hate each other. And then it makes me think about also what Chief said in the Pride video, when he had said, people always say, oh, those Africans sold other Africans. And Chief was like, no, um, those like Yoruba and Igbo people sold the Israelites, right? So when it comes to these kind of rooms, it makes me think of like, okay, you will see someone who has some type of power, or not power, but like intellect, speaking, right? And you're just gonna hate them for it, and then you're gonna try and like sell them out in the situation where like I'm gonna try to make, like you said, make Al Kawar look bad, or I'm gonna try to make Akizat look bad, because I want to feel good. When realistically we're both in the same room, so let's try to work together to get somewhere else, right? Like that field slave and house slave kind of analogy. Like you're both in the same situation. Like why don't you guys try to work together and push something through? And that leads to another thing me and someone were speaking about, me and Elder were speaking about, and I was saying like, I find it really dumb how young guys now are like killing each other. And I said, like, why don't you guys get those same guns that you guys have and get that money that you guys have and put it towards, taking over something, taking over, like, go stand up and go take over a corner store, not corner store, like a whole area, and then put your money in that, and what to call it, develop that area, put some houses on there, build up that, or go take over some banks, right, or go take over something else, instead of saying, that guy down the street over there just did whatever. Now he got $100,000. Let me go get that off of him, right? When someone that may own that whole area just made a bunch of money off you, but because that guy is black or he looks like you just hate him, right? And it's like that saying that I heard a lot as a kid, like these people don't get along because so much alike, right? When it's like, if you guys are so much alike, why don't you guys use that to push whatever you guys like forward, right? Instead of saying, you know what, let me tear you down, let me bring you down so I can shine. When realistically, you don't ever really shine that way. Um, to me, you always end up falling because now there's no one to back you, right? And then, because like Chief said one time too, if there's two people in a room or three people in a room working together, then the Most High will be there, right? Because this is unity. So once you guys got unity, or like that foundation, like, right, like because I've been working with carpentry. If you're building something, you got to make sure the pillars are straight and firm, right? Or everything else is falling. So if me and Akizak and Al Quran and Chief are in a room speaking, if one of us is pulling down the other, we're all just gonna fall down in the room and look stupid, right? So that's kind of what that made me think of. And it's like we've been made to hate each other, but what like Chief said back in that other video, it wasn't everybody just hated each other. It was like, these Israelite people are doing this thing and let's tear them down, right? And I feel like looking at it like, okay, where did this originally come from? Like that bloodline thing that Chief also spoke about in that video too as well. He said, like, once you open up your blood to a spirit's always going to be there, right? So there may be issues that had came through long before that we know of, before slavery, of us hating each other, and it just trickled and trickled and trickled to where it became like a big pond of that kind of disdain for each other. And like Chief has said, like having all of us in a room or in a space and just respecting each other has been like a hard task to have. Much less even love each other. Like just respect each other on a level is even been hard. So I think like just looking at where things have come from and where things need to go, we don't really have much. Like Chief's always said, we don't have any time to play anymore. So there's not much time for us to keep tearing each other down, because people are gonna start taking over. And I know for me out here in Canada, like you see the Indians doing that. Like sometimes they don't even like each other, but because they know where they need to go, they'll have like 10 of them living in one house, or they'll have 10 of them working at one factory, and they won't hire anybody else, and they'll work with each other. Even if they don't like each other, they'll work with each other because they know, like, it's now or never. We don't got time to keep playing around, or else someone else is going to come in and take our spot. And I feel like we've been so egotistical in that, where we think we're just so great, it's just going to happen, and it's not. Like, that makes me think of, that's my last comment, when I was at that youth thing, and they was reading a scripture, and they were saying like, pray and ask and you will receive. And I was like, I mean, you could pray all day and ask for like unity and all these things to happen, or pray for, if you want a new car or whatever. But it's like, what have you done? Like, do you think you're just gonna pray and say, I hope everybody just becomes united, and not looking at, okay, what has put us in this position? What do we need to do moving forward, and how could I be humble enough to put myself forward first and see, okay, this is what needs to happen. Like, if Chief came on this live and said, all right, everybody, shut up, listen to what I have to say, and that's it. Instead of saying, I'm open the space and be humble and say, you guys may not have the right answers to everything, but I'm gonna open the space for us to respect each other and learn from each other and be able to grow and move forward as a collective, instead of just saying, I'm this master teacher and I'm gonna just put y'all on game and then leave out and feel good about myself. So yeah, that's kind of where I'll end that off.
Thanks. Yeah, I would just say, and we're gonna close out. Thank you for that. Like, in response to that, I go back to Muslim lesson, English lesson 1, question number 6 through 9. My uncle loves the devil because he gives him nothing. Why would he love him? Because he gives him nothing. Because he taught him to eat the wrong foods so that he will behave other than himself. Well, what is his true self? His true self is that of a righteous Muslim. Okay, that's in English lesson 1 from Master Farad Muhammad. So sometimes we don't realize, like, the root of this begins with, like, you love the devil. And you love the devil because he gives you nothing. That alone is insanity. So we're chasing all of these things that produce nothing, that give us nothing. Why would we do that? It's like what Raheem is saying. Well, this doesn't make sense, because we were taught to eat the wrong foods, as the lessons say. My uncle, because when it speaks about my uncle, Farad is saying he doesn't even know he's my uncle. You see, he doesn't even know that we're the same, that he has a responsibility towards me, because he was taught to eat the wrong foods. And then I think that's question 9 to 10 says, what does that have to do? No, question 11 says, what does that have to do with question 10? Right. What does what he's eating have to do with who he loves? What is sustaining him? What has he been taught to tell him, or that this is what will sustain you? This is what will carry you through life. And it always equates to nothing. It always equates to zero. You see, so if our true nature is that of a righteous Muslim, then, like what Zach was saying, well, why are we not collaborating? Why are we working against each other? Because we love the devil. So as long as you have love for the devil, what will you have love for? The state? Like when you read the book, what was the movie too? Queen of the Dam. Right? In Queen of the Dam, you had a vampire named Lestat. Lestat, when you break it down, it means the state, right? And so Lestat represented the state. And in loving Lestat, or loving the state, then you're loving the devil's creation. Once you love the devil's creation, which gives you what? Nothing. None of us know what the state actually does. We just know it in thought. Well, you got to pay your taxes, and they can do this to you, they can do that to you. But we don't know anything that the state does good for. Well, the roads are here. There were roads here before. The lights, there's moonlight. You don't really need street lights. You know what I mean? So, but we love this thing that gives us nothing. You see? So that now extracts our love that we should have for one another, where we can actually give. So even when we get around each other, we don't give each other anything, because we're used to that motif of loving something and getting nothing back. Why? Because we were taught to eat the wrong foods, physically and spiritually. We're receiving toxins within our system, whether it be the media that we watch, the music that we listen to, all of these different things that teach us to love the devil. We love the devil's kingdom, and it gives us nothing. But if it gave us something, we wouldn't love it. If politicians actually did what they promised to do, we wouldn't vote for them. We vote for them because of how well they lie to us. But we already know they're not going to do what they said they were going to do. We know that already. So why are we not revolting and say, no, this is great. What kind of system is this? You lied. You said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. Don't ever come knocking on my door again. Don't put any flyers on my car. Nothing, because you lied. But we don't rebel in that sense because we love that system, because it gives us nothing. So when we get amongst each other, we look for that same lack of return on investment. And when there truly is a return on investment, we run. When someone says you've been taught to eat the wrong food, so you don't even know what to look, you don't even know the glory in life. You don't know what to look for. You don't know the sweet, beautiful things. You see, you don't know the value of when we talk about whether it's Hiram Abiff or we talk about Judas Iscariot, we talk about the hangman. Who is the hangman in life? You don't even understand the sweetness that wisdom has presented to you in life. The hangman, whenever you see that symbology in any, whether it's tarot or whatever, that is the person who's hanging from heaven by one single thread. And it represents the journey of the soul that's hanging in this human reality and universe, looking to be liberated through its quality thinking and right actions and proper intake. But it can never be liberated, so it stays in this constant state of hanging by its neck, by a single thread between heaven and earth, because it refuses liberation. You see? So the true liberation is the quality of thinking that comes from better eating, better nutrition. And when we receive that better nutrition, what happens is that we burst out of this position. We resurrect. We're no longer hanging now in limbo, not really effectual. Because when you're hanging between heaven and earth and your soul is hanging like that, your body's not active because your feet ain't on the ground. That's a miserable existence. You produce nothing. You see everything, but you're powerless to do anything about it. You see? So it begins with us reclaiming identity and knowledge of self. That's why my uncle was taught to eat the wrong food, so he would love the devil who gives him nothing. You see? So that's the start of everything that we're speaking about, you know. And it now, once you become that resurrected, like Hiram Abiff, you're standing perpendicular to the square. Now your quality of thinking has changed. So my relationship with nature has changed. I'm not afraid of nature because my quality of thinking is better. You made me afraid of nature, because if my true nature was that of a righteous Muslim, then now when I see my brother and he is perpendicular to the square, we are now moving as righteous Muslims, one who submits to the will of Allah, you know, or the peace. So we submit to peace. What is peace? Identity, knowing my identity in the midst of chaos. So once I know my identity and I submit to my identity, what is my identity? That of a righteous Muslim. What is a righteous Muslim? One who submits to the will of Allah. Who is one who submits to the will of Allah? One who submits to the original identity. What is the original identity? Righteous Muslim. See the cycle? So how could I ever get around any of you brothers and compete? What is there to compete about? We're the same thing. Righteous Muslims. We're all submitting to our true and original identity. You see? So then that's when a lot of that stuff goes out of the way. So you'll see other nations who are doing things say, why can they do things? Because they've submitted to their identity. How confident do you say, I'm an Israelite? I'm Anu? Or do you mumble it? You see, if somebody ran up on you, yo, what's your nationality? I mean, I knew, but I'm also an Israelite. But I mean, okay, well, I was born here. I was, so technically, you know, like you doing all of that. See, so therefore, once you start doing that, oh, you love the devil. Gotcha. Because you love these titles and these attributes that have never given you anything. They have never produced. That's why sometimes y'all hear me joke around people like from down south or from Canada. But I just be joking because I say, I don't care. Why would I care about Somebody came with a marker and drew a fictitious border and told me I'm supposed to feel some way about the other person on the other side of that border that they just created. I don't love the devil like that. I don't. You see, so if I see my people in Guyana, or I see my people in Montreal, or I see my people in California or Cuba, I see my people, you see, because I know my identity. That's where it begins, man. You got to learn to take in the right foods. And the right foods for us right now is bitters. And why do we need to take bitters? Because we got so much sugar in our system. A lot of dudes got a lot of sugar in their tank. But, you know, we got a lot of sugar and the system. And what is the sugar? It's all the lies. The lies have been given to you in the sweetest of ways. So how do you have to now clean your blood? How do you clean your butt? How do you work on your kidneys? Bitters. There's nothing sweet that's gonna heal your kidneys. It's all bitter stuff, because you got to balance out your blood sugar so your eyes can wait. You can get your vision back. You're walking around with glaucoma, you can't see anything because all of the syrupy sweet messages and affirmations that are in your system. You see, that's the food that the devil taught you to eat, so you wouldn't know who you are. You see, or the liquor the devil taught you to drink, so you wouldn't know who you are. So you never come to a thorough knowledge of self. So you never know how to move. If I know who I am, there's certain things I'll never say to you brothers, or to any of these sisters in the chat. I never say it to them because I know who I am and I know who you are. I can't talk to you like that. You see, that knowledge of self is important. So I just want to close out with that, man. It's been a beautiful discussion, and I want to thank the brothers for coming through, and the sisters also. I'm trying to get back to the chat, who were in the chat, and brother Robert Rod9 said, you know, when he was in school, someone, I guess a teacher told him he looked like Paul Robeson. That's how he got on Paul Robeson. He actually does look like Paul Robeson. I never noticed until he just said that, but he does look like Paul Robeson. But yeah, man, he was an incredible brother. So anybody wants to look up an interesting person, definitely check out Paul Robeson. He went to Rutgers, and even in Brooklyn, it's closed down now, but they had the Paul Robeson Theater. That's over there on is it on Dean Street? I think it's on Dean Street. It's downtown Brooklyn. But he went to Rutgers University, man, and you know, he was a lawyer. Stu was he was a mega energy man. And there's been some stuff that's come out recently. Just like what was the dude? Cleo, I don't remember the dude's whole name. The dude the dissexual dude who tried to come out and say that Malcolm X was a dissexual. He said the same thing about Paul Robeson, that he was a dissexual man.
Manable?
Is that his last? That sounds about right.
Cleo. That's his last name. Manable.
Yeah, Cleo Man. Yeah, something. Yeah, Cleo, because it sounds almost like Mandingo, but it ain't Mandingo. Yeah, that dude. Yeah, you know, but yeah, he's supposed to be like woke and, you know, rainbow at the same time. That's a whole nother show. So in any event, man, I want to thank you brothers for coming through. I will be here, of course, noon when the sun comes back up. I don't want to say tomorrow because we're already in the next day. So today is already Sabbath. But when the sun comes back up, you know, I will be here noon Eastern, and I will be going over the divine family again. Divine family, right? And centering on the role of the woman. We did the role of the man last strong. This strong's role of the woman. Next strong is the role of the children. And then we start getting into our polygyny. I know you like, it's taking forever to polygyny. Don't rush to the polygyny. It ain't for everybody anyway. And the truth is, you know what I'm saying? Marriage, a proper marriage, is beautiful in all forms. A proper marriage. It's all beautiful, man. Don't, you know, just because whether you got one wife or two or what, it's all amazing. You know what I mean? So we're showing the amazingness of it and how you establish that from the rooter to the tutor. All right. So with that, man, I'm gonna head out. Thank you, brothers, for coming through. And yes, the summer retreat registration is open, so you can now register and start that process. Of course, we're gonna be rustic this year. I'm really looking forward to that, man. Like, we're gonna be camping. I mean, we still got bathrooms and stuff, but we're gonna be camping, and we're gonna be in New York, which is even greater. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of people have never been up top. Y'all talk a lot of crap. But you ain't never put your Timbs on the concrete. So it's gonna be great to have a lot of our new crew who had never been up top to actually see for themselves what it's like. And it's nothing better than New York in the summertime, man. Like, New York in the summertime is, it's to me, it's like the greatest place on earth. Now, once it started getting cold again, like, nah, I'm on a plane. But during the summer, it's also real dangerous during the summer. But don't worry about that, man. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. As long as we stick together, stay huddled up in close groups, we'll be all right. All right. So everyone, definitely, I will see you when the sun comes back up at noon Eastern, and we'll be exploring and diving into more of the science of family. All right, everyone. Shalom.
Shalom.
You gotta rise and you know it. You gotta rise and you know it.